are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And for we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And
keep yourself in the loop of everything football on the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast. The latest news on and off the field, be it college football, Big Ten, SEC, Big 12, Pac-12, ACC to the NFL. We've got you covered. Listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast.
And welcome everybody to another edition of the GSMC Football Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. As always, I'm your host, Kenneth Grunfelder, and it's great to have you guys here on this Wednesday, March 6th. We have a lot to talk about on the show today, but before I get into that, I just want to remind you guys, as always, tip or donate and get your comments recognized. Make sure to go to the following link, that is gsmcpodcast.net. Again, that really helps the show, makes the show more interactive between myself, the host, and you guys, the viewers. Again, that is gsmcpodcast.net. And as always, it is displayed on the ticker on the bottom of the show segment down below. So we got a little bit, well, we do have a lot to talk about, but we have a shortened show today. Only going to do 2 segments for today. So we're going to talk about the franchise tag deadline. We're going to recap the players that, got franchise tagged. Then we're going to talk about a player that did not get franchise tagged, and that was the running back for the New York Giants, Saquon Barkley. So we'll talk about that and what his future holds for him and the Giants as well. So with that being said, let's get into the first topic, which is talking about the players that did indeed get the franchise tag. So quite a few players. Some of them I've talked about already. L'Jarius Sneed, obviously he's been a topic of conversation because if the Chiefs can't agree to a long-term extension, they could maybe end up trading him because they are still trying to work on bringing back Chris Jones. Also, Tee Higgins is somebody to keep an eye on as well. If he indeed, he does have the franchise tag, but the Bengals could actually end up trading him if they can't agree on a long-term extension because they've got guys like Jamar Chase that are looking to get paid, and I think their priority is they want to keep Chase over Tee Higgins. As much as Tee Higgins is a good player, Jamar Chase, I think they have more value. They value more, so we'll have to keep an eye on that. But that's another player that could potentially be traded. So you also had the Jaguars. They franchise tagged Josh Allen. The Bears franchise tagged cornerback Jalen Johnson. The Colts officially, we knew this, but officially franchise tagged Michael Pittman Jr. The Panthers, they franchise tagged Brian Burns. The Buccaneers, they franchise tagged Antoine Winfield Jr. The Ravens, they franchise tagged Justin Matabuke. Again, I hope I pronounced that right, Matabuke. Some players that didn't get the franchise tag, Kirk Cousins, who was ineligible to be tagged, Chris Jones, Christian Wilkins of the Dolphins, Baker Mayfield, Danielle Hunter, and of course Saquon Barkley, who we'll talk about more in the next segment. But for the Buccaneers, though, because I've talked about them a lot on the show here, so they re-signed Mike Evans, they franchise tagged Antoine Winfield Jr. Now they got to look towards now bringing back Baker Mayfield, and then obviously look to figure out a long-term deal with Winfield Jr. But so that's those are the notable players that did get franchise tagged. Also, some other news. So the Dolphins also released another defensive player. They released Jerome Baker after 6 seasons, so he's going to be a free agent. The Texans, they re-signed Dalton Schultz, who had a good season, good first season with them, good weapon for C.J. Stroud. The Jaguars, they released Darius Williams after 2 seasons, a defensive back. The Seahawks released some guys. They released Jamal Adams and Quandre Diggs. Now that was the Jamal Adams trade was ended up being a bad trade for the Seahawks because that was a blockbuster trade. I mean, Jamal Adams was a great player for the Jets, and then he goes to the Seahawks and just injuries, and it just didn't really pan out there. So that's just more news on that front. But let's get back to the guys the players that were indeed franchise tagged. So I kind of wanted to just look at their stats from 2023. Wanted to go into just looking at them. So Metabuke had 13 sacks on the season, 2 forced fumbles, 38 solo tackles. He had 56 tackles in total. He had a half a sack in the postseason. So yeah, I mean, a guy that's valuable for the Ravens on their defense, and they're going to try to. I mean, they're going to try to work out a deal, long-term deal with him. I believe he's only 26 years old. Yeah, he's only 26 years old. So they're gonna. Again, that's a valuable piece on their defense. So they're gonna try to get a long-term deal done with him. Also, so we'll also look at Michael Pittman. Now, again, Anthony Richardson coming back from injury. I want to have some some pass catchers around him, and Michael Pittman is coming off of a season where he had over 109 he had 109 receptions, 1,152 receiving yards, and 4 touchdowns. And this was his best season. I mean, his receptions, skyrocketed. I mean, his first season he had 40. Second season, 88. Third season, 99. And then 109 in 2023 on 156 targets. So, yeah, I mean, coming off of a solid season. And now let's see what he could do with Anthony Richardson. He did a nice job with Gardner Minshew. But now, if Anthony Richardson is healthy, let's see what these two could do together. So, also, another player, a lot more defensive players were franchise tagged this time around. Also, the Patriots gave Kyle Duggar the transition tag, so that was just another thing to note. But yeah, see, when I look up Josh Allen, of course, it pulls up Josh Allen of the Bills. We want Josh Allen of the Jaguars. But yeah, this was a player that they could not afford to lose. On the season in 2023, he had 17.5 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, 43 solo tackles, 66 total tackles. He also had an interception as well. That I think that came in the Bengals game when they tried to do like that gadget play and he picked it off. So those were his stats. And yeah, I mean, the Jaguars can't afford to lose him. So they franchise tagged him. Also, Brian Burns, he was also for the Panthers, one of their best defensive players. 8 sacks on the season in 2023, 50 combined tackles. Again, another player. I mean, we'll see what ends up happening, with him. They get a long-term deal. I mean, I think for him, he wants to go to a team that can compete. And right now, the Panthers are still, in rebuild mode. After a rough first season with Bryce Young at quarterback. So, they're going to try to maybe work out a deal, but if that doesn't happen, maybe he's a guy that ends up getting traded. Again, that's just speculation, but we'll see. And Antoine Winfield Jr. was a big one for the Bucs. Had a great season for them, and they worked out a deal with Mike Evans. Listen, they had a lot of free agents, and I've talked about this. 6 sacks on the season, 3 interceptions, 122 combined tackles. Solid season for him. And, so 6 forced fumbles, 4 fumble recoveries. Yeah, so he, like I said, had a great year. And the Bucs, they franchise tagged him, and now they could look towards bringing back Baker Mayfield. We'll see if they can work out a deal with Levante David, because I know I've been saying that he wants to stay in Tampa, so we'll see if they end up bringing him back. But that was important. So you at least got Winfield Jr. and Mike Evans back. Now you got to work on getting Baker Mayfield back, which I think they eventually will get that done. So, but I'm trying to forget. Is there anybody else that I oh yeah, Jalen Johnson. of the Bears also got franchise tagged, so I just wanted to take a look at his stats as well, because he was somebody that a lot of teams were planning on, I think, going after in free agency, but the Bears they franchise tagged him. So he finished with 4 interceptions on the season, 1 forced fumble, 36 total tackles on the season. Played in 13. Oh no, that was 2020. 14 games in 2023. But yeah, the Bears keep him around. Listen, the Bears, I've said this, they played better towards the end of 2023, and part of that was the defense, and he was a factor in that. And we'll see what ends up happening with Justin Fields if the Bears do trade. I mean, it seems like that's what's going to end up happening. Is he's going to get traded, and they're going to draft Caleb Williams, and then we'll see what they do with that other top 10 pick. If they draft another receiver to go along with what they have. The Bears have a lot of cap space, and they could definitely look to add some more weapons to that offense. Maybe add another running back, because you have Khalil Herbert, you have Roschon Johnson, but I think you want to add. They might want to add somebody else, and there's a lot of running backs out there. So maybe they try to add one of those running backs, and then you draft a receiver, and you take Caleb Williams. Suddenly, you look at this offense. I mean, it's going to be even better on paper. We got to see what Caleb Williams does. I mean, he hasn't stepped on the field yet in the NFL, so we got to see how he actually is. But if you draft one of these top receivers in the draft, and you bring in another running back with all these running backs that are available to you to go along with DJ Moore and Cole Kmet, I mean, offense doesn't look bad. The team does not look bad on paper. And again, they played better towards the end of the season, so I feel like the Bears they're gonna be competitive. Now, I don't know what kind of season they're going to end up having. I think there'll be a team that's trying to battle for a wild card spot. I look at the Packers and the Lions right now as teams that are better than them. And if the Vikings do bring back Kirk Cousins, I'd probably rank the Bears last. But the division is going to be very competitive. So we'll just have to wait and see. But yeah, I mean, I think they're a team that could definitely be in the mix for a playoff spot next year, even with a rookie quarterback. But I don't know. Maybe that's just me having a lot of faith in the Bears. Because Bears fans, a lot of them don't have faith in the Bears. So, but we'll just have to wait and see what happens. But I think I pretty much went through everybody that was franchise tagged. I mean, I've talked about Tee Higgins. I've talked about L'Jarius Sneed. So, yeah, but there were players that did not get franchise tagged, and one of them, obviously, I will get into in the second segment and final segment is, of course, Saquon Barkley and what that means for him. The Chiefs, they didn't franchise tag Chris Jones, but they're going to try to bring him back. And I think eventually I think they will work out a deal for him. So, listen, free agency is upon us, and that's when things are going to get crazy in the off season. So, we'll just have to wait and see what ends up happening. But I know, yeah. So, but for a running back, the franchise tag was going to be about $12 million. So I guess that's why no running backs got franchise tagged. So for safety, it's about $17 million. Defensive end was $21 million. So that's kind of what some of these players got. Yeah, again, a lot more defensive players as opposed to offensive players. Tee Higgins was one of them. The franchise tag for them was about $22 million. So the quarterback would have been $38 million, but no quarterback got franchise tagged. So Michael Pittman also. Well, yeah, I just said Michael Pittman and Tee Higgins. But yeah, that's pretty much it when talking about the players that did get franchise tagged. So like I said, I have alluded to it, but when we come back from our first and only break of the show, we will talk about Saquon Barkley. And the Giants did not franchise tag him. So we'll get into that and what the future holds for both him and for the Giants. So with that being said, stick around and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign.
I wanna be the greatest. Everybody on the fake shit. I look around and feel like everybody is the fakest. I make this every day and I'm impatient, hoping one day I blow up from the basement. Statement, the top is so vacant. I don't hear shit that I think is amazing. Waiting for my day when I'm playing sold out shows for 1,000 faces. Hey, give me that crown, get in my way and to be put down. It ain't your place, all this my town. If I want that shit, then I'll get it right now. I'm losing it, the noose it fits. I'm losing shit, a stupid myth. You choose to live or choose to dip. You choose to fight or lose your grip and lose a gift. Oh,
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind?
All right, and we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And for the second and final part of the show, we are going to talk about Saquon Barkley once again. The Giants did indeed not use the franchise tag on him, and now he's going to be a free agent. And they also didn't use it on... there was speculation that maybe they could have used it on one of their safeties, Xavier McKinney, but that ended up not happening as well. So both of those guys are free agents. And, yeah, I think this is probably it for Saquon Barkley and the Giants. I've kind of said that since, the beginning. I don't know. I just feel like that this is it. They couldn't agree on a long-term deal when he was franchise tagged last year. I don't think it's going to change. And, of course, he's getting older, and again, another season where he was hurt. But they could have traded him, and they ended up not doing that. So, now they're going to kind of lose him. They might lose him for nothing, essentially. But Joe Schoen did say that it was possible they could use the franchise tag on him, and that ended up not being the case, which I think most of us kind of figured. I didn't think they were going to use it on him. And Barkley definitely didn't want it. Because Barkley wants that long-term contract, and the Giants, it doesn't seem like that's going to end up happening. And, it's unfortunate because, Barkley's kind of been, a Giant for a while now. It's, since 2018, it's been a while. And now he might end up playing somewhere else, and I think he should. I think he should go somewhere else and play for a team that has a chance to do something. And the Giants are a team right now, they're kind of ways away. After 2022, it looked like, okay, took a massive step forward. They're ahead of schedule. And then in 2023, they took a massive step back. And I don't know where the team goes from here. I really don't. I think also with this regime, with Joe Schoen and Brian Daboll, they did kind of inherit a little bit of a mess with what Dave Gettleman left over for them. And they want to mold this team into their image. And Saquon Barkley was not... I mean, listen, Saquon Barkley is... When he's healthy, he's an explosive player. But, now it's at the point where he's going to cost them a lot of money. And they're not willing to do that, it seems. I mean, again, they could sign a deal tomorrow, and I could say, all right, well, I was wrong about that. But I think for Saquon, he's a free agent. I mean, he wants to stay a Giant, but at the same time, go somewhere where you can win. The Giants are a team that is not in position to do that. The NFC East, right now it's the Eagles and the Cowboys. It's just, I mean, maybe you could fight for a third wild card spot, but it's just they have so many problems. Offensive line's still an issue. Their weapons, their pass catchers, quarterback. It's just that they have so many problems on this team. If you're Saquon Barkley, go to another team that gives you a better chance. That gives you a great chance to win. There are plenty of teams out there. And the favorites, supposedly, are the Texans. Now, again, that's just it's a rumor, and that's a team I said I'm on board with that. Go to the Texans because they need running backs. The Ravens also could be a possibility as well. Talking with one of my coworkers last night who's a Ravens fan. Because, J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards are free agents. Maybe you go there. He did say he wants Derrick Henry. So, but for Saquon, go to a team, and we saw the rumors with the Chargers. They could be in on Saquon. Even though their cap situation is, the Texans are in a great situation with their cap space. The Chargers are not. They're going to have to, get rid of some guys. Saquon going to the Texans, that would be great. With how C.J. Stroud played, Devin Singletary did a nice job. But if you bring in Saquon Barkley, that only just elevates the team and the offense. So I think that would be a great spot for him. You're going to a team that, that team was ahead of schedule. But I think this Texans team definitely better than the Giants team from 2022. I think so. And I think mostly it's because of C.J. Stroud and what he was able to do. Because, and Daniel Jones, he did well with less, too, like C.J. Stroud. Because, after the kind of season that C.J. Stroud had, and you saw what Nico Collins and Tank Dell were doing, the Giants receivers from 2022, you had Darius Slayton and Isaiah Hodgins. You would take Nico Collins over Tank Dell. You would take them over those guys any day of the week. I think that this Texans team, I would probably take them over the 2022 Giants. But again, that has a lot to do with, like I just said, the quarterback. So if you bring in Barkley, that's again, it's only going to elevate the team. But again, there's other places that he can end up on. Like I said, the Bears are another team that could maybe, dip their toes into the Barkley sweepstakes. And again, he could always return to the Giants. I just don't see it right now. I just feel like it's best for him if he goes somewhere else. But it all depends on, the money too. Because his asking price could be something that, teams say, yeah, we're not willing to do that. And then, he might have to lower his price a little bit. I think Barkley still has a few good years left in him, but does have an injury history. He's been injured a lot. I think really the only time he wasn't injured was his rookie season. So, and I think 2021, I feel like he missed some time. I have to go back and look, but his rookie season he was healthy. Then the following year he missed some time. Daniel Jones rookie year, 2020, tore his ACL. He's missed games actually, and 2022. Well, let's go back and look. Let's see. He played in 13 games in 2021, played in 16 in 2022. So, and he played in 14 games in 2023, but again, was hurt. But, obviously once he came back, it was nice that the Giants at least had a playmaker on offense, because it's just something that they've been missing. They were missing, and, Barkley, he's the engine for that team. And, the Giants don't have really anything else going for him when it comes to playmakers. They drafted Jalen Hyatt, and, it doesn't help that the quarterback position, you went from, Daniel Jones to Tyrod Taylor to Tommy DeVito, then back to Tyrod Taylor. It was a tough season for them at the quarterback position as well. And now who knows what's going to happen with Daniel Jones. I mean, there's some rumors out there that the Giants are done with him, and, they really regret giving him that contract. And, they could be looking to draft a quarterback, and who knows? I mean, who knows if Daniel Jones is going to be, from what I was hearing, who knows if Daniel Jones is going to be ready for the start of next season. So if they draft a quarterback, is that who's going to be starting week 1? So they just have a lot of issues. And it's unfortunate because after 2022 you thought, okay, they're only going to trend up from here. And that was not the case. After they lost 40-0 to Dallas, like I said, I knew where the season was going to head. It was heading towards pretty much a disaster, and that's what happened. So now they got to regroup, and they're going to have to continue this rebuild, and it's going to be without Barkley, and they're going to have to most likely without Barkley, and you're going to have to figure out the quarterback position one way or another. It's going to be through the draft. So we'll see who they end up taking. Again, they have so many issues. So, you draft a quarterback. Now you got them behind this offensive line that hasn't been good. There's really one spot that's solidified, and that's your left tackle with Andrew Thomas. So, and I mean, I'm hoping that Brian Dable and Joe Shane figure it out. But it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. The Giants have just been going in circles for years now. And, people thought after they made the playoffs, they beat the Vikings, that, okay, yes, they did lose to the Eagles badly, but you thought they were going to be competitive throughout the season. They were going to be a team that was going to fight for a playoff spot, maybe fall a little bit short because the schedule was tougher. But it went in the complete opposite direction. So, and yeah, Giant fans, I know are probably upset with, potentially losing Barkley. But it's it kind of seemed like it was always trending that way. Because if they weren't able to agree on a long-term deal, it's not going to work out. But who knows? Who knows? Again, he could sign a long-term deal, and I'll come on and say, I was wrong. But at least for the moment, it looks like he is his time with the Giants is over. And, again, I think it's better for him if he goes somewhere that, the team is in better position to compete for a championship. Because he'll help whoever. I mean, there's plenty of teams out there that could use a running back. And there's a lot of running backs that are available right now. So, we'll see what happens with him, with Derrick Henry, Josh Jacobs, Tony Pollard, DeAndre Swift, all those guys. We'll see where they all end up. But, at least for the Giants, it looks like Barkley and the Giants are might be parting ways. But we'll find out. We'll find out. I mean, at least the Giants are going to... I think what their plan is, and this is what from at least watching the Michael Kay show, at least what Don LaGreca was saying is, let the other teams, or it was either him or Michael Kay, one of the two. You have Barkley go and test the market, see what you can get from other teams, and then he goes back to the Giants and see if the Giants match that or not. And if not, then they're then they'd officially be done. But we'll see. Again, free agency is upon us, and we'll see where guys potentially go. So yeah, but yeah, that's pretty much it with the show for today. Again, a shorter show, only 2 segments, but don't worry, tomorrow we'll be back to the full hour, Friday as well. So just for today. Yeah, but let me know what you guys think about the Barkley situation. Let me know what you guys think about the guys that were franchise tagged. Let me know in the comments below. So, yeah, with that is all the time that we have for today. Once again, thank you guys for tuning in. I'll be back again tomorrow, 10:30 a.m. Eastern Time. And until then, Kenneth Grunfelder signing off from the GSMC Football Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. Have a good day, and I will see you guys next time. Take care.
Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a bad day. Yeah, I'm tired of shit, and the coffee ain't hit yet.